Everyone, it's Ellis, and this is the patch 13.17 notes preview, so this is not the official thing. The other thing about this is that Worlds is on 13.19, so while this is a really large patch, we don't know what's coming in 13.18. I don't know if Briar is actually going to be in 13.18 or 13.19. Doesn't matter because only Naafiri is going to be allowed at Worlds, so in that regard, it does not, it doesn't matter too much. But Asia Games is also coming up. It's just a very weird thing where we're not getting to see any of these patches actually come to fruition. So, first thing we can talk about is Elise, her auto attack damage. I assume this is spider form, or whatever, 10, 40, 20% to 12, 42, 20%, auto attack healing 4, 10, to 6 to 12. These are super minor, does not really do anything. The E stun duration 1.6 to 2 to 1.6 to 2.4. So now they make it so that the cocoon will end up snaring you for a little bit more, but you don't really begin to see the effects on this until you have 3 points into the ability. So it feels really weird, because this is also Elise's repel. All in all, just very placebo buffs, doesn't really do anything, but it is something to keep in mind. Gnar Mega Q base damage is going to be up by a flat 20, and Mega W base damage is also going to be up by a flat 10. So now his all-in damage at level 6 and the all-in damage at level 11, which level 11 obviously is the one that you really do care about, because that is when Gnar can always just do his full combos and also use his R completely off cooldown, because his R will come back up by the time he gets his Mega back. So these are just nice little base damages buffs. Now, we do have to keep in mind the durability patch from last year, and then how this actually affects getting Gnar back to where he was at prior to the durability patch and whatnot. Now, Gnar has a lot of indirect buffs with, like, Trinity Force and Sterix and, like, all these other types of things going on, so it is good for him. Lux mid, Mono Region is going to be down by 1. Passive damage is going to be up by a flat 10 plus 5% ability power, which means that her 1v1 trading is going to be up massively. This is also a really big buff for support Lux, where she's going to be able to weave in a lot more passive damage in the early stages. The Q cooldown, 11 seconds at all ranks to 11 to 9 seconds at rank 1 through 5. This is massive because this is her CC, but she doesn't end up putting points into this until it's second, so you don't get access to this until level 13. E damage is going to be 70 to 270, 80% AP, to 65 to 265, with 80% AP. So the damage is going down by 5. Now, I don't know how this affects her wave clear, but I do know that her E was buffed once upon a time. So Lux, at one point, her E got buffed, and a lot of people had the questions of, did that affect her wave clear? I'm actually going to look what patch history it was. Let's see. E cooldown, is this it? Okay, so her E was buffed by 10% AP in 1223. And also, the Q buff right now is actually a nerf undoing from 1124. So this is, alright, so this is a little bit weird. Okay, and then E base damage increased to, yes, I was right. Okay, so the E base damage is still going to be a buff from 1121. So Lux got nerfed in 1124, she got buffed in 1121, and now here we are on 1317. And some of these things are being undone. Now, her E is still buffed from where it used to be at before by 5 damage, so I wonder if that's actually the unique breakpoint that allows her to do whatever. So I do think that this is actually massive. Now, I also do want to point out, though, that this is really big for Lux support. Now, Lux support typically won't get to level 13. However, now Lux support can actually just do something like E to 3 and then start putting points into Q. And then you get access to more chain CCs, and your passive just does more damage, so Lux support benefits that way. Alright, Orianna health growth is going to be up by 5, so even inside of laning phase, first recall, you're going to get like an auto attack worth of HP, half an auto worth of HP or something. W damage 60 to 240 plus 70%, to 70 to 270, massive buff to her base ability. Orianna is a champion that you primarily pick because of her ball. So, because of her ball, you have to really closely monitor any buffs that happen to Q, W, and E as base abilities. Her R is not the main reason that she's picked. It's the main thing that people think of when they think of Orianna, but it's not the reason that she's picked. She's mostly picked because of zone control that is primarily affected by her ball. So that's inside of Q, W, and E, and then obviously the zone control does tie into the R in the later stages, but the R doesn't matter. You could give the R 20 base damage, it would not alter you changing Orianna. However, when you give Orianna 10 more base base damage inside of laning phase on her W, suddenly things start to get a little bit crazy when her QW and E gets buffed, because these are the primary things that she bullies with and controls lane with, and then controls mid, transitions with around dragons and heralds and stuff. So really, really big Orianna buffs. Samira is going to get 30 HP, so she's going to get a little more than half an auto inside of laning phase. Twisted Fate, QAP ratio 80 to 90%. Again, I don't know if this alters his wave clear. I don't know if this changes anything, but it is obviously a really big AP ratio, so that is really nice. Doesn't do anything for AD Twisted Fate, who ended up benefiting from the old changes that happened. TRYNDAMERE is going to get 50 attack damage. I saw that Ranger ended up making a huge notepad and tweeted it at Riot. I didn't actually read the notepad, but I do know that one of the TRYNDAMERE mains from E West wrote a lot of stuff. I don't know if this was in there. I'm doubtful that it is. It's a nice little buff. He's going to be able to weave in maybe 1 or 2 more auto attacks. That's the way that you can look at this. So it is actually quite a large damage buff. That is it is a damage buff. That's the way that it should be read as. Vex Q damage is going to be 60 to 60 to 240 plus 70% AP, to 70 to 250 plus 70% AP. So it's just getting 10 flat damage. I don't think this does anything, even though it is 10 flat damage. W cooldown 20 to 12 to 16 to 12. Now W is okay. I mean that's a little bit. That's a little. I'll be honest. That's a little crazy to just get 4 seconds shaved off. Rping now mentions enemies that are marked in range of it. Okay. So that's nice. Nice little quality of life buffs, but still not the end of the world. Zoe HP region 6.5 to 7.5. E sleep duration 2.25 seconds to 2.5 seconds. E magic resistance reduction is going to go from 20 to 30. These are really big Zoe support buffs more than they are Zoe mid lane buffs. Now, don't get me wrong, they are mid lane Zoe buffs, but the reality is that Zoe does not start putting points into E until later. The HP region going up, it is nice for mid lane. I mean, it's something, right? She's going to get half a potion maybe inside of laning phase, extra worth of HP now, which is kind of nice. So she's like getting an auto attack, and then the sleep resistance doesn't actually, I mean, the sleep prediction's just giving you the 30%. It is nice for mid lane Zoe, but it's a lot bigger for support Zoe. Kayn, WAD ratio is going to be 1.3 to 1.1. That's a really big nerf. Kha'Zix, QAD ratio 1.15 to 1.1. That is also, I mean, it's okay, whatever. Kindred, E slow, 50% to 30%, E missing HP, health, 8 plus 0.5 per mark, to 5% plus 0.5 per mark. Wow, that is really, that's a big hit to Kindred for snowballing inside of solo queue, but still doesn't change why you'd play her in competitive. Naafiri, base health, she's getting nerfed again. I'm in disbelief. So basically, Naafiri is just a monster champion. That is what we have to accept. She has joined the ranks of Mordekaiser. She's joined the ranks of, Bel'Veth. She's joined the ranks of Yorick. Like, these types of champions. Riot will not allow them to really, truly ever be good, so long as they're pub stomping solo queue or something. It's very weird. Passive cooldown 25 to 10 based on level to 30 to 15. So now it's a lot more punishing in laning phase for her, and jungle is just continuously getting worse. New packmates take 100% bonus damage from champion melee attacks. Hilarious. Q2 heal 45 to 145 plus 40% bonus AD to 45 to 105 plus 40% base AD. The heal is not super big because, okay, well, I guess the heal at rank 2 is. Q2 min damage is also going down. 40% bonus AD is okay. What is going on? Q2, wow, they just shot the dog. They don't even care. PETA, these nerfs are so bad, so many patches in a row, that PETA is going to start tweeting at Riot. Like, or PETA, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't even care, man. This is just terrible. All right, Naafiri is in the gutter, man. Naafiri is homeless. Xerath support, base mono region, 8 to 6.85. Passive unit kill, restore 2 seconds to 2.5. W mono cost 70 to 110 to 80 to 120. Okay. Champion adjustments, whatever. I mean, you shouldn't be playing Xerath support after the changes anyway, because they already nerfed it so hard, but now they're really trying to make it so Xerath just doesn't go support anymore. Okay. Champion adjustments, Aatrox, passive and W now deal magic damage. So this doesn't matter until he starts picking up items. Once he starts picking up items, he is just dealing significantly less damage. So that is something that you can note. However, I think in early laning phase, this means that he's probably dealing more damage, because armor is not going to do as much. So in the early laning phase, Aatrox is like buffed, but now he's dealing less later, which I think that's interesting. All right, Akshan. So I think that Akshan and Quinn, they did the same exact thing. They nerfed the champion's ability to harass you, but they made them tankier, which doesn't actually matter. What this does is it makes their joust obviously a lot worse, ever so slightly, but now they're tankier. So it's whatever. Blitzcrank, massive nerfs all around. So champion health is going to go up. MR is going to go up. Attack speed down, attack speed ratio is going to be down. Shield is going to go up, which doesn't matter because you can't chew through all of the shield early on anyway. So it's actually a nerf because the shield would end up being more useful later. And then the W mana cost is going to go down by 10. W attack speed is going to go from 30 to 82 to 30 to 70. Now, support Blitzcrank will not end up getting points in this anyway. So this is just like other Blitzcranks. So you still are going to have 30 at rank 1, but once you start getting points into it, if that ever happens, then you don't get it. W no longer grants bonus magic damage on hit, so he's just losing a lot of damage. He's losing a lot of auto attacks inside of his trade, and then the E mana cost is also going down by 15. So you're getting access to a lot more mana, but that doesn't matter anyway because for professional play or super high level play, the mana that you're actually gaining is not impactful enough. If you were just playing well, EAD ratio is going to go from 75. Okay, I'm sorry. So EAD ratio goes up by 25%, but the W no longer grants bonus magic damage on hits, so that it's being balanced out that way. And R passive now deals an additional 2% max mana damage. Okay, so they're giving him back some damage, but okay, so they nerf his initial all-in while making him a little bit tankier, and then they actually gave him... Okay, they gave him enough damage, I think, to offset the nerfs later. So he's buffed later, but nerfed a little bit early on in laning phase, except like in counter matchups, and they removed his ability to jungle. Okay. Hecarim, mana, 277 plus 60 to 280 plus 40. So he has 3 more mana up front, but loses mana per level. Mana regen, however, is going to be up dramatically, and then the Q cost 30 to 28 to 20. So the mana, he's getting a lot more mana while spamming Q. So actually, it's just going to be buffed. W cost 50 to 90 to 50 to 70. So again, more mana buffs. W Omnivamp 25 plus 2% per bonus 100 AD to 20% no scaling. Okay, that feels a little bit bad, but now he can go top lane, I guess. Yeah, he can go top lane, and he doesn't ever need tier. Quinn, we already talked about her. Vi passive shield. Wow, we're really having to try to bulldoze through these. But Vi passive shield, 10% max HP to 12% max HP. Passive cooldown refund 3 to 4 seconds. E cooldown 14 to 8 to 12 to 8. R damage 150 to 500 plus 1.1 bonus AD. 150 to 400 plus 0.9 bonus AD. Okay, so all of these changes for Vi, they also don't really matter. Getting the passive max HP shield back doesn't matter because the shield doesn't get chewed through in a lot of instances. Passive cooldown refund, I don't think really matters either. The E cooldown being shaved off by 2 seconds at rank 1 is really nice. And the R damage, just losing damage, turning her more into utility and tanky is whatever. Passive heal 6 to 74 on Zinzhao plus 10% to 3 to 4% max HP. Levels 1, 6, and 11. I imagine this is a buff. Base heal is always higher, 1 HP per longsword, 5 HP per ruby crystal. Okay. Immortal shield bow, 215 to 500 to 290 to 500. They're buffing shield bow early. It doesn't matter. This item's a joke. Just build Sterix. Gore Drinker, build path, Caulfield's Warhammer, Phage. Okay. Health is going to go up by 100. Nice change for Gore Drinker. Stridebreaker is just getting 75 HP buff, but Stridebreaker is a bad item. System nerfs, Bloodthirster, threshold 50% to 70%. This is also a bad item. Just build Vampiric Scepter and then build the other items and deal more damage. Do not go Bloodthirster when it is a pretty often incorrect item. This is one of the most overpurchased 80 carry items in general. That is dramatic. It's just grossly misunderstood. And also, like, unless you really need to justify the crit or something like that, Ravenous Hydra is just going to be providing you more value in general anyway. Evan Shroud, damage percent amp 10% to 70%. That is a pretty big nerf. Futures market debt limit 145 plus 5 per minute to 100 plus 8 per minute. So this is a nerf until minute 17, but it doesn't really matter. The way that futures market ends up working, I ended up tweeting about it. There's really specific wave recall states. And the wave recall states, generally what ends up happening is you actually have excess gold anyway, assuming that you're CSing well. So all this does is it punishes you if you aren't CSing well, and it doesn't let you get out of those like broken broken recall states in general. And those typically only occur around like the first mythic and obviously the first lost chapter. But the first lost chapter, because of the buff that was done to it, generally you'll end up actually recalling with excess gold anyway by about 40 or like 50 or something. So that one's actually not changed that much. It just makes it a little bit worse if you end up missing, like, again, a couple of CS, and then later on it doesn't matter either way, either, because you're never planning a recall at 25 minutes around the extra 20 gold or 30 gold that you're going to end up getting. It's just ridiculous. Static Shiv PvT damage is going to be nerfed. This is totally fine. I'm waiting for the Ezreal glow up with Static Shiv and whatnot, even though we have Kaisa. Ketchup XP rounding, jungle Ketchup XP level difference, always rounded up, rounded normally. Dragon now displays a patience bar, that's really cool. Dustblade no longer invulnerable to damage while untargetable, really good. Spear of Sojin. So Spear of Sojin is now also just being super buffed. Buffed until 200% bonus AD. So it's buffed for very specific champions. Really, really, really good. For Spear of Sojin, this is an item that needs to get built more. All in all, 1317 is a really interesting patch, but we do have to wait for 1319, which is going to be the World's patch. We'll have to see what Briar ends up landing as when she does end up coming out. And Freak, obviously, with an amazing quote that I absolutely love. More than half the Zeri players built Trinity Force first item, so we know that players don't read. Amazing. And it was totally fine. And apparently the top comment here is saying that Zeri's just do it because it is on the recommended tab, and that is something that Riot does need to update because the algorithm of how that works. That is it, and we're going to go back to LCK Gauntlet live viewing now. All right.